Hi, folks. So I'm speaking to you from the intimacy of my morning bedroom. My hair all askew, and hair on my face. I'm wanting to be transparent and human around the matter that has been turning in my head for much of my life, and which came to a head February of last year in a rather dramatic post that I wrote from my position as a conversation partner in the yoga world, which was a critique of feminist assumptions. And it's not like that conversation has dwindled, at least in my own mind, and definitely not in the culture at large, since I sent that post. The only thing that's dwindled has been my yoga career. But there's a number of things that I would like to point to in that conversation and in my own processes and values that I hope might be valuable fodder for a richer and hopefully more respectful conversation. And in that light, as I said in my statements afterwards, I'm aware that I was profoundly provocative. There's a very much a trickster side of me that likes pushing buttons, that likes saying what shouldn't be said, especially if I see it as a truth. I come from a family of truth tellers, and it's kind of big in my genetic structure, probably too big. It's dangerously big, but that's something that I've tended to abide by. So I want to point to something else, though, that's also a part of my allegiance. It's a part of my values, and that is the value of reconciliation. That's always been huge for me. I was raised in a liberal Christian home, but a Christian home nonetheless, where the values that are a big part of the Christian faith, which have to do with reconciliation, are there, and I just believe in it anyway, whether it's aligned with Christianity or not. And I believe that disparate truths can be accommodated in the heart space of authentic human conversation. So this is such an attempt. In the aftermath of that discussion, there was a lot of rancor shared on all sides, and I believe in novel truths. I believe in exploring the areas where we're triggered, but I don't believe in ad hominem attacks. I don't believe that we should be vilifying one another personally for our opinions. In fact, I'm quite aware of the dangers in our current society of that kind of thing, which is rife and a lot of people have talked about. But in this video today, what I want to point to is I want to point to the possibilities for reconciliation and claim my own value of reconciliation at the same time that I wish to accommodate the range of understandings around what gender is, how gender functions in our culture, and what gender has been and how it's functioned in our culture, both in terms of its social directions and its biological conditioning, and we might talk about Nietzsche's will to power, the impulse of human beings to strive towards both higher status, higher power, greater creative freedom, greater expression in the world. There are shadow sides to this as well as light sides to this, but we as human beings evolve, and we evolve towards greater presence in the world, greater manifestation in the world, and that takes all kinds of forms. It takes the form of wealth, it takes the form of political power, it takes the form of artistic expression. It takes the form of activism. It takes the form of claiming what is right in the world, working for righteousness, sacrificing for righteousness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like certain elements of all three of those conversations, biological expression, biological manifestation, the quote-unquote will to power, and I know power is a really charged word in our Western society, but sounds like maybe that's the best descriptor, and the kind of history of gender affairs were all issues that I attempted to address in that essay, and I intentionally left it elliptical. There were things I chose not to explain in detail, and there are definitely things that I chose not to tread softly in. And again, that was a bit of my trickster nature, my desire to provoke, which I've kind of developed as an internet writer, and it's just inimical to my personality, it's just part of my personality. But I guess what I'm, with this video, it's attempting to do is it's attempting to seek a wider conversation to kind of walk into those areas again with the alignment with my own personal values and I think the human values of finding agreement, of finding ways to accommodate the breadth of views in this matter of gender. And even when I say that, my heart kind of thumps because this has been painful and difficult for myself and has a lot to do with my personal history. And I know it has to do with my own personality development. So this discussion is critical on both the personal and the public ways, the personal and the political, as is often said. And I feel that I have something to contribute to this conversation, and I feel like I have an obligation to complete what I've started, but it's more than obligation. There's a desire, there's a genuine desire to resolve this conversation or to be in the mix, to be in the mix of the confusion around it and to try and say things that are hopefully enlightening for both sides of the political spectrum. So that's my comments for this kind of introductory video and what I